Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about National Life Group and their index crediting strategies on their IULs. There are 6 of them: fixed term strategy, S&P 500 point-to-point cap focus, participation focus, and 1% floor, credit Susie balance trend 5%, and the Seng cap focus. So we're going to break down all 6 of these so you have a little bit better understanding of how each one works. The first one is a fixed term strategy. It's a guaranteed interest crediting using an annually declared fixed interest rate. That rate right now is set at 3%, so the upside potential is limited. The guaranteed rate will never fall below 1 or 2% depending on the product. It will either be 1 or 2, but right now it's set at 3, but it will never fall below 1 or 2. So no matter what the market does, you're only getting 3%. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. The next one is the S&P 500 point-to-point cap focus. This is probably one of the most common, maybe most popular chosen index strategy within the crediting strategy, and it tracks the S&P 500, which is considered to be representative of large company stocks in general. It's for those wanting a higher cap, depending on how their index outlook is. Participation rate will always be equal to or greater than 100%. Guaranteed minimum cap is 3.1. Guaranteed floor is 0. Now, right now, the cap is set at 9.75. So if the market does -5, you get 0. Market does 5, you get 5. Market does 12, you get 9.75 because that's the cap. So whatever the S&P 500 does, that's what you'll make up to that 9.75% cap. Now, that cap can go higher, it can go lower. It usually depends on how the market's performing. When the market's up, caps are usually up. When the market's down, caps are usually down. The next one is the participation focus with the S&P 500. And it's for those wanting a higher participation rate depending on their index outlook. Participation rate will be at least 110% or greater. Guaranteed minimum cap is 3%. Guaranteed floor is 0%. So notice the cap is 7.75. So it's lower than the cap focus, but the par rate is greater at 140%. So what does this mean? Market does -5, you get 0. Market does 5, you get 7 because you get 140% participation rate. Market does 10, you get 7.75 because that's the cap. So if the market did 1, you get 1.4 because whatever the market does, you get 140% of that market growth while never losing because, again, it is indexed. The third one, and this is the new one for the S&P 500 strategy, is a 1% floor. It's a guaranteed 1% annual interest crediting regardless of market performance. And it's for those willing to give up a little bit of the upside for more guaranteed interest crediting. So they guarantee a floor of 1%. Participation rate will always be equal to or greater than 100%. Guaranteed minimum cap is 2.1. So notice, cap is 7.75, par rate's 100%, but the floor is 1. I'm sorry, par rate is 100%, floor is 1. So if the market does -5, you get 1. So not 0, you get 1. Market does 5, you get 5. Market does 10, you get 7.75 because that's cap. So you get whatever the market does up to 7.75, but never below 1. So you might ask yourself, why wouldn't I just put my money in the fixed account? Because I'm getting 3. Well, remember, the fixed account, you only get 3, nothing more, nothing less. So when the market does rebound and starts climbing up, you're stuck at 3. While this one, you get that market upside up to the whatever the cap is right now, set at 7.75. Now, National Life used to only have crediting strategies that mirrored the S&P, but these last two are a little bit more diversified. They wanted to get a little bit more diversity within their crediting strategies. First one being a credit Susie balance trend 5%. This is a volatility controlled index. So it seeks to provide a smoother ride than the highs and lows of the regular market. And it follows a mix of different asset classes, both locally and globally. So that's equities, bonds, real estate, commodities, cash. They look at the US market, the UK market, and the Japanese market. So they're looking for less volatility by spreading that risk amongst different asset classes. Participation rate will always be equal to or greater than 50%. We guarantee no cap on the strategy because of the volatility control. Guaranteed 0% floor. So no cap, par rate 130%. So market does -5, you get 0. Market does 8, you get 10.4. Market does 15, you get 19.5. So notice the upside is great, but they're spreading that volatility across multiple asset classes. That's why they call it the 5%, because it might hover around 5% consistently. Now, like I said, this is a newer strategy, and the Credit Suzy is a newer index, so we're not totally sure how it's going to perform over time. We have a assumption that it's going to perform roughly around 5%, but it's all about a smooth ride. So your client wants a smooth ride. They don't necessarily want all the upside, but they also don't want all the downside, and they just want a smooth ride till they access their money. This might be a great option for them. The last one is the Hang Seng Cap Focus. It tracks the 50 largest companies on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So it brings different risks than the S&P 500. It moves a little bit differently than the US markets. Participation rate will always be equal to or greater than 100%. Guaranteed minimum cap is 3, guaranteed floor of 0%. So the cap is set at 11.25. So with all the caps, the strategies with all caps, this is the highest. Participation of 100%. So if the market, the Hang Seng, does -5, you get 0. Market does 8, you get 8. Market does 15, you get 11.25. So whatever the Hang Seng does, that's what you get up to 11.25. But again, it's not the S&P 500, it's the Hang Seng, which is a Hong Kong Stock Exchange. And those are all 6 strategies with National Life.